Hey guys, today we're looking at the Sega Dreamcast Controller. As you probably know by now, I'm having a little giveaway at the beginning of March. March 1st, I'm going to draw a lucky winner. And that person is going to be able to choose any console from a little collection and basically pick whichever one, and the one that you pick, that's the one I'm going to send you. One of which is a Sega Dreamcast. Now, this is the controller, but as you can see here, it's not exactly the best looking one, so I can't in good faith give this controller to someone. So let's make it look awesome. So the first thing we're going to do is get our tools ready, and this only needs two tools really. It needs a tiny Phillips screwdriver. I keep using the Kobalt. This is actually a set that has several different parts that you can just swip out, and I love this one. It goes well with most of my consoles and most of the repairs. That's why I put a link in the description for all the stuff that I use. And you see me coming back to this over and over again because it's a great tool for the job that we're doing. But yeah, that's the only tool that you need. Tweezers are helpful to get some of the screws out. But let's just delve in and start. So we're going to flip it over first of all. And there's going to be 6 screws on the back. So you got 3 on the side right here and then 3 on the other side. So we're going to be taking those out. Now these 2 last screws right here are very far down, and that's where this comes in handy, because you need to have something that's thin enough to go all the way down, and this barely makes it through that hole. So, it's the one tool you need for the job. There we go. And then the last screw here. There we go, I think. Yep. So with that out of the way, we can lift the bottom case right up. And we're just going to throw this in some soapy water that I prepared on the side. So I'm just going to drop that in there. Now you'll be able to actually see the insides. And you'll notice that there are 2 screws right here. So we're going to have to take those out in order to lift the whole assembly out. And this is where the tweezer comes in handy to kind of pick those up. There we go. Now with those screws out of the way, we can just lift the whole assembly right up. And we can start with the actual front of the controller. That's the easiest one. So we'll just pop all the buttons out and just throw those in the water. Just like that. And then as for the top plate here, the actual logo, you will see right here that it has a little pin. So just take this wonderful tool, flip it over, and now you got a straight edge that you can use to push on this. You don't need to use one of these, it's just easier. So that's why I recommend this tool. So we'll just push that a little until we get that loose. It's a little finicky sometimes. And of course you don't want to use too much force, you just want to use the right amount, so just work your way up. Don't go in all forceful right away. And let's see here. There we go. So now this just flips down and out. And we'll take those two pieces and just throw those in the water as well. And then focus on the motherboard here. First thing you'll notice is that this thing's completely loose, so just slide that out and toss that in the water as well. And basically at this point you have all the stuff exposed. So we'll take the rubber mats and just peel those off, and we're going to throw that in the water as well, just for the sake of thorough cleaning. And now with this pad there's a little plastic rounded piece right here that you can see, and that piece is actually loose. So make sure that you don't lose this little piece. So, you know, if you want to put that on the side with the screws, that's up to you. Just make sure that you don't actually lose it. I'm just going to throw it in the water because I know it's there, but it's easy for that one to just kind of, you know, when you're cleaning it out, it just drops into the sink and then goes right out the drain, and you know, you lose it. So make sure you don't lose it. Anyways, we then got the actual, there we go, so that just peels straight off like that. Now we could leave it as it is, but you know, I'll show you all the pieces here, especially since the triggers tend to be really dirty from, you know, sitting like this, and your sweat and your dirt just kind of falls naturally into these cracks here. So because of that, what I want to do is take those off, and you'll note that right here and here you have two screws. So we'll take those out, and you'll also notice that these are silver screws, whereas the previous screws have been black. So the silver screws will all go straight on the motherboard, and all the black screws are for the plastic. So with those screws taken out, we can then just pinch this piece right here, and then that will just release the whole trigger. And they're also conveniently labeled on the back. So this is the right trigger. Another way of looking at how to reassemble it is these little pegs in the middle will only fit into these holes on the other, you know, on the correct side. You can also look at the magnets. The magnets are going to be on the outside. So, you know, they're not going to be facing in towards the board, they're going to be facing out from the board. So that's another easy way of discerning which trigger goes where. So just throw that in the water, and then do the same here. Just pinch down a little on that little tab, and then this will just come straight out. And we might as well just take the directional pad here as well. And you'll see here that there are two screws on this as well. So we'll take both of those screws off. And you'll notice that this actually comes straight up just like that. And then if you want to keep on going down this little rabbit hole, you'll see right here, if it'll focus, yeah, so right there you can see that there's two little like pegs almost, so you can squeeze those, and it's not really necessary, I'm just kind of showing you if you want to know how everything is connected. So we'll take that out. And also because since I'm giving this away, I want to make sure that it's properly cleaned all the way. So you can see here that it's kind of got an interesting layout. So all in all you have 5 pieces. So you have the actual casing, you have the spring mechanism, you have the actual directional pad and its socket. So all of these pieces we can just throw away in the soapy water and just let it sit there. So there we go. And that leaves us with the actual motherboard itself. So at this point what we could do is just do some compressed air and just kind of blow it out a little bit. You can use Q-tip with isopropyl alcohol inside of these little connectors here for the VMU. But they actually look pretty decent. The motherboard looks pretty much pristine, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. But just, yeah, I'll take some isopropyl to the actual contacts here just to, you know, if there is anything in here, I'll get rid of that. So I think I'll do that right away. There we go. Now we can just put that to the side. Focus on the plastic pieces. Now, since I used a hairdryer in between each washing cycle, most of the pieces are pretty much dry. So I can just use some Q-tips over here to kind of go over those areas that aren't completely dry, paper towels and so on. So let's just go ahead and reassemble it. Of course, we're going to start with the actual front cover, and let's attach the logo first. Just want to make sure there aren't any like residual wetness in the joist, which there aren't any. So we can just, you know, slide that in like this and pop it in the back here, just like that. And that's that piece of the puzzle done. So next let's do the buttons. So we'll just take those over here. Now with these you want to make sure there aren't any moisture left inside of these little areas. So what I like to do, since Q-tip isn't big enough, is just take a piece of paper, kind of make a little spike on it, and just push that into the holes, and that's going to take up that extra moisture. And just like pretty much all controllers in the world, they have these little pegs that only go in a certain way. So like if I try to put this in here, it's never going to fit. And same here. So you know, it's impossible for you to put it anywhere except for the hole it's supposed to go into. So it's easy enough. And then we'll continue with the next. And this actually had some moisture there at the bottom, I can see. So just gonna make sure that we get all the way down into that. There we go. And then same with this, there's only one way it'll go in. So there. Actually there's still a little left there. There we go. And then same here. And then finally there we go. And we'll take the cover, the button cover, which is this piece right here. Make sure there aren't any wetness left or moisture, and you can see that it has a little hole right here, and that's for that peg right on the side there. So just line that up and push that over that peg, and then that's done. Next, let's do the center button, and again just make sure there aren't any moisture trapped inside here, and that actually looks pretty good. So we'll pop that in, and again it's got pegs on the side, making sure that it can only go in one way. So if we try to put it that way, it's just not going to fit. So there we go. And then the button cover here, and this has the same thing. So it has a little line going across it, and you want to keep that line with the pegs. So it's kind of mimicking what's going on underneath. So you just put that over there. We can continue to the directional pad, and again just make sure that we take out all the moisture. Just like that. And that also has a peg here, which corresponds with the little cutout right there. So just slide that in, and now we got the pad for that. And if you remember, this is the one that has that tiny little speck. So we just insert that from here. You can also see that it has a little like funnel cut out right there. So that just goes in just like that and pokes out. The reason for that is that that centerpiece goes right in the center of the directional pad right there, and that's why it's kind of needed. And then just put the pad over. With the pad, there's really no, right way or wrong way. It'll fit any way you want to put it on there. So there you go. I actually saw a little drop of water there, so I'll take that. And that's the cover, or the front of the controller, done. So the next piece now is to basically put the board in to the front there. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take, well actually let's wait a little with that. Let's, normally I don't take this apart, so let's do this first and just put the thumbstick back together first. So that's easy enough here. So just make sure that all the pieces are dry. And as for this little cap, or whatever you want to call it, you can see here it has a little like divot, and that's for the spring to sit inside. So there could be moisture in there. So again, we'll just take some paper and just fold it a couple of times till we get a little point, and then just jam that in there, work our way around, and any moisture that was inside there is now out. So fairly easy. Just make sure that this is dry. Yep. Okay, so now to put this back together again, and we'll start with this piece right here. So you'll take the actual like joystick, just put it here, just like that, and then we'll take the spring, put that, spring, and then just to slide that over here, just like that. And then we'll take this piece and align the two, and then just align everything here. So you got the thumbstick, you've got the case, you got the spring all centered right there. Slide it over and just push it together, just like that. And then you'll take the actual thumbstick part, just push that over, and now you have a functional thumbstick. So just put you over there, and then let's actually put all the pieces next to each other here so we got it all sorted out. And again, with the triggers, just make sure that there's no moisture. And typically you'll find it hiding like inside here, so they actually look pretty decent. So in order to help align everything, it helps to kind of hold this the way it's supposed to be. So you can see here where you have the directional pad, so obviously that is going to go to the directional pad, and it's going to go in this way, which means the triggers are going to be on the other side. And if you remember, the magnets go on the outside, so we'll just put that in the top there, and then just pop that in place. Take the other one and just pop that in as well, and then flip it over, and the joypad or thumbstick is going to go on the corner right here. You can see it has a little well, potentiometers, no, actually they're just capacitors, sorry, but yeah, basically those will correspond to these little 4 cutouts here. And you can also see that there are 4 points, and you have 4 points around the center there, and you just align it, let's see, this way, so that you'll also get the screw holes to match up with the corner pieces right there. So there you go. And then we'll screw all of those pieces together with the silver screws. And then the triggers we're going to screw in from the opposite end. There we go. Now with that taken care of, we'll then put this on. And you can see right here that it has a little groove, and it has the same groove right here, and that's for the circuit board to kind of go into. So we'll just align those, just like that. Make sure we're hitting on both sides, yep. And you'll see here that it's, it's just sitting loose here. So we'll actually, there's a little moisture there, so let me take that off first before we do any more. There we go. So just slide that into the grooves and make sure you hit both of them. There we go. And then flip this over and then just put it straight down into the controller here, just like that. And then we're going to screw that in place with the 2 screws at the top right here. These screws can be a little tricky because it's kind of narrow, so again, having the tweezer is super helpful. Kind of get it aligned properly. There we go. And then we'll have to put the cord correctly, and the way that you do it is you want to put the cutout piece in this little slot here, but at the same time you want the actual curvature, so the curvature of the cord should be pointing down, because you basically strap it around to fit on the top here again. So we just align that so that's down, which means this is the way it's supposed to go in there. And just align that a little bit, just like that. And then we'll take the bottom, just slide that straight down. Make sure we're not pinching here so it just falls naturally in place. And take the screws. And you might be able to see now what I meant. So right here you can see that this is pointing down. That's because this actually straps into the back here. So, it should not be bent this way when you're putting it together, this little connector right there. Because it kind of looks very similar when you try to put it in. So final 2 screws. There we go. The last 2 screws can be kind of tricky because you're not really seeing what you're doing, but there we go. And final piece, just to add a little orange pledge, just to kind of help it withstand future dust and stuff, and just also to make it look a little bit more shiny and new. It's a simple little thing, but it does have a huge impact. So I'll just rub that generously. Just be careful in here though, because there are contacts in there and you don't want to put too much moisture on those. And I actually see here that I missed a spot. So just take the magic eraser. Just like that. And then just reapply the orange pledge. There we go. And of course, final piece, just make sure that all the buttons are responsive and that they sound good. And that's how you clean a Sega Dreamcast controller. And again, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. If you do it before March 1st, you are eligible to be a part of the competition, where I will give away a console of your choosing, one of which could be a Sega Dreamcast, and this controller is going to be the controller that goes with that system. So again, thank you so much. Also, if you want to help support the channel, I put links to all the equipment that I use in the descriptions. Please use those affiliated links. It really does help me out a lot. So thank you so much again.